Well, the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, has been in the news for a number of reasons. We attempt to unravel them with the latest directive by the House of Representatives. Now, the chairman, House Committee on NDDC, Honorable Olubunmi Tunjiojo, and also a former lawmaker, Honorable E.J. Agboyima, both join us from Abuja studios. We'd like to thank you for joining us at this time. Perhaps I should start with you, Honorable Tunjiojo. There's been a lot of issues lately surrounding the NDDC, the President's directive on forensic audit, the interim committee set up by the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs to oversee that, the Senate confirming a new board of the NDDC, and now this by the House of Representatives directing NDDC to suspend all payments. It seems there's a lot of interest here, and it's also a little confusing. But tell us why it's pertinent that the House is taking this decision at this time.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, viewers. Obviously, as you've rightly said, the NDDC has been in the news for some negative reasons. And the reasons are not far-fetched, obviously, because of overtime, not something that just started today. You know, maybe there's an opaqueness in the operation of the commission, and this has led to a fall in standard in terms of due process, in terms of adherence to financial regulations and other excellent laws of the land. And the House took a decision, as you said, on Tuesday, because it got to a stage whereby the House needs to make NDDC to learn how to obey its own rules or its own laws. The Act actually establishing it. Section 18 of the NDDC Act 2000 as amended clearly states that NDDC is supposed to submit their budget latest September 30 of the preceding year, you know, to the National Assembly for consideration. What that means by layman interpretation is that NDDC is supposed to have submitted the 2019 budget as far back as September 30, latest September 30, 2018. September 30 to November 20-something, that we're in, that's roughly 14 months. So it means that NDDC's budget has been delayed for 14 months. So how do you account for expenditure that has not been budgeted for? How do you account for how do you account for development within the region?
So, Honorable Tunjiojo,
how do you account for due process?
Honorable Tunjiojo, so who is at fault now? I mean, this is because of all the different leaderships within the time frame.
Well, by law, I think NDDC is supposed to route the budget through the presidency. So that's why we're investigating. You know, we don't want to decide. We can't say who is at fault at this particular point in time, or else there won't be any need for the investigation, you know. So we're going to investigate. We'll start full-scale investigation, not just to correct this anomaly, but to make sure that doesn't happen in the future.
Let's find out. Let's quickly find out from Honorable Agboyima. Sorry to cut you off. Let's find out from Honorable Agboyima. What's your take with all of this that's ongoing on the NDDC?
Well, thank you very much. Thank you to our viewers out there. To me, I'm from Niger Delta. I'm from the south of this country. And the NDDC, as an agency, I would have thought by now, the billions and billions and trillions of naira pumped into the Niger Delta, the NDDC. It should be like, Niger Delta should be like Dubai. It should be like where people travel to. But if you go around, there's nothing to write home about. I think Mr. President Buhari found a reason that there must be a forensic audit to audit NDDC. And this time, we are seeing a lot of people complaining and shouting. Those who have interest, that have benefited from the corruption, the looting, you know, those that have looted, you know, that region. It's sad to every citizen, every boys, girls, men and women from Niger Delta that are suffering today. Those that have gone to school, graduated for years, and nothing for them to even get employment. But the government have done their part, putting so much money into NDDC. And if you go to Niger Delta, nothing to write home about. And
I must quickly ask you before we go on break now. And the question is, where will you put the blame? You're a former lawmaker in the House. So where exactly do you put the blame?
I don't like this blame game. Mr. President have appointed, the interim committee. He have said that there must be a forensic audit to be conducted. And the National Assembly, the House of Rep, in his own wisdom, Mr. Speaker, and I'm happy that the chairman of the NDDC, who is standing firm, he's a newcomer in the game. He met a lot of mess on ground. And those that are there now that Mr. President have appointed are there to do the needful, to investigate, to do the proper things so that we can put things in the better perspective that Nigerians have suffered and a lot of the people from the Niger Delta have suffered. So I don't want to have a blame game here. What is important that Mr. President, I've seen it that there's a serious problem. There's a cancer wound in the NDDC that have eaten us deeply, that nothing to write home about, that a forensic audit must be done and must be done.
All right, we'll come back to continue and wrap up this discussion. Permit me to cut you off at this point. We'll come back and wrap up on all of this when we return. Still to come also on the program, Nigerian governors are kicking against the death penalty for hate speech. Please stay with us. Back to our discussion on the NDDC. We've been talking with the Chairman House Committee of the NDDC, Honorable Olubunmi Tunjojo, and former lawmaker, Honorable E.J. Aboyema. I must ask you at this time, as we wrap up discussions, Honorable Tunjojo, with regards to the appropriation or the reason why the House made this suspension of the NDDC and payments. I mean, it appears you said they've been spending without appropriation. Isn't that an offense? And what do you think going forward would happen, especially to the forensic audit, seeing as members of the committee, the House committee, are also doing a financial audit in the past 3 years?
Well, thank you very much. The most important thing is that as a House, under the leadership of Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila, we made a commitment to the people of Nigeria, and most especially to the people of the Niger Delta, that we will work for the people of Niger Delta. NDDC will be a commission that will work for the people and will deliver for the people of the Niger Delta. That's what is important. So what we are about doing is to not just have a short fixed solution. We must solve the problem of NDDC once and for all. Because we are fortunate, let me say this please, that we have a president like President Muhammadu Buhari who is courageous enough to be able to take decision on this issue of forensic audit. We are grateful as people from the region. And we think that this opportunity is too big for us to right the wrongs, than let it slip. We can't let this opportunity go by. We don't know when else we will have this type of opportunity to really dig deep into the rot and be able to put things right. So the National Assembly, the House of Reps, and the House Committee, which I happen to be I'm privileged to be the chairman, we are ready. We want to work. We want to put things right such that we'll be able to build a credible institution. NDDC, it's unfortunate that we are talking about 2019 budget in November 2019. The law says that by now we should be considering 2020 NDDC budget. So if President Muhammadu Buhari has brought the 2020 national budget, and yet we are still begging NDDC, we are still shouting for 2019. It's an anomaly. And it's because they are used to illegality. We will not allow this illegality.
Let's quickly find out finally now from Honorable Aboyema, and that's your take. I mean, you've talked about how indeed what is on ground in the Niger Delta, there's nothing to show for. But are you optimistic that the forensic audits, there will be a transparent process, seeing as we pretty much have the interim committee and then the new NDDC board operating simultaneously? Briefly.
Well, let me congratulate Mr. President Buhari for finding the initiative and be bold enough to set up this interim committee and to request for an audit, forensic audit. I think the end should justify the means. We should allow them to work, to do their own job so that they can ascertain and be able to bring those that join hands together to ridicule and to bring the South people to the lowest level. Today, all the people of Niger Delta are suffering as a result of no impact whatsoever from NDDC that have impacted the people of Niger Delta. So I think it's a welcome development, and we must appreciate Mr. President, and also appreciate the House and the committee and both House and the Senate. But unfortunately,
and we'd like to appreciate you. We thank you because we need to go at this time. We'd like to thank you so much, Honourable E.J. Agbonima and Honourable Olubunmi Tunjojo. Thank you both for joining us at this time.